Jason Miller, 31, sat nervously in his cramped office, staring at the glowing screen of his computer. He'd been in the cybersecurity industry for over 8 years, working his way up from an entry-level position to the head of the IT security department at an expanding tech company. His job was simple: make sure the company's data was secure and protected from the increasing number of cyber threats out there. His reputation as a meticulous, overly cautious security expert had always been a point of pride. If anything, Jason's attention to detail had saved the company countless times from malicious attacks. So, when his new boss, Greg Thompson, a brash, arrogant 42-year-old with no background in cybersecurity, began to push for more relaxed protocols, Jason had begun to feel a quiet unease. But Jason's fears were dismissed as old-fashioned thinking. Greg was a man of bold ideas, ideas that, in Jason's opinion, bordered on reckless. One Tuesday afternoon, as the sound of clicking keyboards filled the office, Jason received an email that froze his blood. It was from Greg, sent just before the end of the workday. "Jason, come to my office now." Jason's stomach twisted. Something was off. He grabbed his notepad, took a deep breath, and walked down the narrow hallway toward the boss's office. "Jason, I don't think you're the right fit for this team," Greg began as soon as Jason walked in, his tone casual, almost indifferent. "You're too careful. You've been overcomplicating everything. We need someone who's willing to take risks, not someone who's constantly playing defense." Jason was stunned. He knew Greg had been critical of his insistence on strict security protocols, but he never expected to hear these words. "But Greg," Jason stammered, trying to find his voice. "The protocols are in place to protect the company. Without them, we'd be exposing ourselves to massive security breaches." Greg simply waved him off. "I've decided to let you go, effective immediately. Your services are no longer needed here." Jason felt his world collapse around him. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He had worked tirelessly for this company, always going above and beyond, and now he was being shown the door. His mind raced as he walked out of Greg's office for the last time, his heart heavy with uncertainty. Jason was on the verge of walking out the door for good when his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. "Hello? Is this Jason Miller?" A calm voice on the other end of the line asked. "Yes, who's this?" Jason replied, still trying to process everything. "This is Sarah Lee. I work for a cybersecurity firm that specializes in protecting high-profile companies from sophisticated cyber attacks. We've been following your work, and we believe you're exactly the kind of expert we need." Jason's heart raced. This was unexpected, to say the least. He had heard of Sarah's company, but the idea that they were aware of his work, it was both flattering and overwhelming. "I'm sorry, but I just lost my job," Jason muttered, unsure of how to proceed. "Not for long," Sarah said with a small laugh. "I know this is sudden, but we'd like to offer you a position here, a much better one than what you had before." Jason's disbelief was evident, but the excitement building within him slowly pushed aside his doubts. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Absolutely," Sarah replied. "But there's one catch. We move fast. You'll need to get up to speed quickly. Think of it as a challenge." "You in?" Jason hesitated for a moment, then nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "I'm in." Just 2 days after his firing, Jason found himself in a whirlwind of activity. He had joined Sarah's firm, working with a small team of top-tier cybersecurity experts, each with their own specialized skills. They immediately began working on high-profile contracts with major corporations, handling everything from ransomware prevention to securing financial institutions. But just as Jason was settling into his new role, disaster struck. The company Jason had just been let go from, his old workplace, was hit with an unprecedented cyber attack. The breach, which had been made possible due to Greg's decision to disregard basic security measures, was catastrophic. Customer data, proprietary information, and sensitive documents were exposed to the public. The media was on fire with reports of the breach, and the company's stock price plunged as customers began to panic. Jason's phone rang nonstop. It was Greg. "Jason," Greg's voice was panicked. "I need you to come back. We've been hacked. This is bad, really bad. We're losing everything." Jason sat back in his chair, the weight of the situation pressing on him. His old boss, who had just fired him for being too careful, was now begging for his help. Jason couldn't help but feel a small, victorious smile tug at the corners of his lips. "I told you this would happen," Jason said, his voice calm, controlled. "You didn't listen to me. Now you're reaping the consequences." Greg didn't respond, but Jason could feel the desperation in his silence. "I'm not coming back," Jason said firmly. "You should have listened to me." He ended the call and turned his attention back to his new team, who were already deep in a high-stakes mission to contain and recover the damage caused by the attack. It took weeks, but Jason's new team worked relentlessly to secure the compromised systems and restore the damaged reputation of their clients. The firm's reputation soared as they saved countless companies from falling victim to similar attacks, and Jason's role in the success was undeniable. As for Jason's old company, it took years for them to fully recover from the cyber attack. Greg Thompson was let go shortly after, replaced by someone who understood the importance of cybersecurity. But the damage was done. Meanwhile, Jason's new life was a success story in itself. His firm offered him a lucrative partnership, and soon he was leading his own cybersecurity projects with some of the biggest names in the tech world. His work was celebrated in industry circles, and his name became synonymous with cutting-edge security. Months later, Jason was invited to speak at a global cybersecurity conference. He stood on stage, the audience hanging on every word as he shared his journey, from being fired by his reckless former boss to building a thriving career, protecting the world's most valuable data. As he finished his speech, the audience erupted in applause, but Jason's eyes scanned the crowd for one person. And then, there he was, Greg Thompson, sitting in the back of the room, looking defeated and out of place. Jason couldn't resist. He walked up to Greg, smiled, and said, "I hope you learned something today." Greg opened his mouth to respond, but the words never came. He simply nodded, his face a mixture of regret and awe. Jason had truly come full circle. The man who had been fired for being too careful with cybersecurity had now become a hero in his field. And as the applause echoed around him, Jason knew this was only the beginning. The future was bright, and it was his to shape. Jason's success continued to grow, both personally and professionally. His work in cybersecurity became a benchmark for others in the industry, and he was soon considered one of the top experts in the world. But despite all the accolades and recognition, Jason never forgot the lesson he learned. Being careful, being thorough, and taking the time to protect what mattered most was never a weakness. It was his strength. And in the end, it was that strength that changed everything.